Hey everybody, I'm back with another review of my Seiko SRPC39 Blue Baby Turtle, or Baby Blue Turtle, I'm not sure what people are calling it. And it is a smaller dive watch, and a really cool dive watch, and I think really suitable for folks with smaller wrists. So let's start with the dimensions. Thickness, it is 13 millimeters thick. It is 42.3 millimeters in diameter, and it is a surprisingly short 42.5 millimeters lug to lug. It's also got a 20 millimeter lug width, which I think suits this size of a case perfectly. And as is typical for Seiko, the fit and finish is fantastic. It is also a real ISO-rated diver, so you can actually go scuba diving with this, as opposed to some watches which aren't ISO-rated, which will probably be okay, but these are individually tested to make sure that they meet ISO standards. And as you can see with this case, there is an excellent juxtaposition between brushed and polished surfaces. So you've got the brushed surface here, you've got a polished surface down here in the bottom, and the same follows on the other side. And I really like how the case kind of flattens out here. I think it looks really good and adds a little bit of character to the case. And speaking of the case, the turtle case is pretty iconic, and if the full-sized Seiko turtle wears too big for you, I think the baby turtle will wear just right. Something I really like about this too, the dial is a nice kind of deep navy blue. I have found that I don't like bright blue dials, especially in an office or more business formal environment, and I think the matte blue dial here lends itself much better to that type of environment, and the same kind of blue follows on the bezel. And something that's, I guess, kind of controversial, I actually really like the Cyclops. I know a lot of people hate Cyclops magnifiers on crystals. I find them to be useful, and I find them to give a little bit more character to a watch. And the watch, or sorry, the bezel here is really great. I don't think I felt the bezel as nice as this. When you, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but when you turn it, it almost feels like you're turning the tumblers to a safe. Really refined, really well done, and I would say the feel is much nicer than even some tags or omegas that I have handled. And then the scalloped sections here on the side of the bezel also look really refined. And although this is a tool watch, it doesn't look too tool watchy. You know, it doesn't look like you went out in the woods and then went straight into work. Even though this could probably work for both. And then the loom on here, and you'll see a loom shot later, but, well, actually, maybe I can do it now. So let me charge this up. It's got Seiko's Lumi Bright, which I think everybody suspects is Super Luminova C3, and it is very bright. I would say slightly brighter than an SKX 007. Let's go ahead and turn this off. And it looks blue in here. That's because I've got incandescent lights lighting the room. It's actually more of a green color. So actually, let me see if I can correct that white balance quickly. Let me charge that up while I'm doing that. So bear with me. All right. There we go. That's the right color. So in typical Seiko fashion, the lumen here is great. I have found that it lasts well through the night and is legible throughout the night. I do kind of wish that Seiko would start using kind of BGW9, sort of like Citizen or Omega does. I know that C3 is supposed to be brighter, but I have found BGW9 to be more visible, or maybe that's just because my eyes are more sensitive to blue. But this lume is great. So let me go ahead and fix the white balance again. Yeah, so really great lume. And then finally, something I really like about this watch. You've got drilled lugs. It's something you don't see often. It's something I really appreciate. It makes changing straps and bracelets much, much easier, in my opinion. Things I don't like. There aren't too many things I don't like about this piece. It's kind of hard to see. Well, it's covered by the hour hand, but there's a Prospex logo. Actually, let me go ahead and just move that out of the way. So there. Let me screw this back in. So there, you can see the Prospex logo. It's kind of that X. Prospex, sorry, I think that's how they're pronouncing it. But you can see it's kind of an X. I don't really like it. I think it makes the dial feel a little crowded and was unnecessary. But that's just my personal opinion. I think some people would disagree with me. I am happy that they didn't write out Prospex, because that logo is cool. It's just, again, this is a smaller size diver and it makes the dial feel kind of cluttered. And then I'm also not sure how I feel about the hands. I think I'm just used to Seiko's old style sort of rocket ship hands. And these, I don't know what it is. They just don't excite me quite as much. And then this might also be kind of controversial, but I wish the logo, the Seiko logo on the dial were applied. Given the dimensions of this watch, it could very well work in an office environment. And seeing as the sides of the bezel are scalloped rather than kind of ridged like you see on, I'm trying to think what kind of watch has that. I mean, maybe even like a Submariner kind of has that look. This looks more refined, and I think with an applied Seiko logo could make it, well, an applied Seiko logo could make it that much dressier and that much more able to work in an office environment. And then something I also don't like, the crown feels coarse screwing it in, almost like they didn't machine the threads well. Coarse, like it, kind of like you're screwing into sandpaper, like they didn't polish the surfaces. Some people have said that this is a feature, that the coarseness keeps the crown from unscrewing, or might be a feature, beefier threads to make up for the lack of a crown guard here. I don't know. On my Seiko Samurai and on my Seiko SKX, it doesn't have this quote-unquote feature. I don't think it was necessary here, and I don't really like it too much. And then my final sort of niggle on here, the 42.5 millimeter lug to lug I think is too small for a watch this size. I typically like smaller watches. In fact, I often wear 34 to 36 millimeter dress watches, and those fit great on my 7-inch wrist, but this 42.5 millimeter lug to lug on a dive watch, it feels too short to me, and I don't know if I can wear it. Let me put it on my wrist and you can see what I'm talking about. So there, it just feels too small on my wrist, and I guess up close maybe it doesn't look too small. Let me move this a bit. yeah, it feels too small to me. Which is a shame because you would have expected a watch with a diameter this big to wear sort of bigger. But it doesn't, I guess, without the lugs and with this short lug to lug distance. It feels small, and that's probably my biggest complaint. I think it's too small for me, and I would say if you have a 7-inch or bigger wrist, this probably won't work for you. But if you're in the 6.5-inch or below crowd, I think you're going to be really happy with this. And I think with the movement, what is in here? A 4R35? 4R36? 4R35 would be a worthy upgrade to the SKX 013. So, yeah, I guess that's my take on it. In all, I think this is another very typically well done piece by Seiko. It's got fantastic loom, fantastic fit and finish, a lot of interesting details on the watch. And if you've got a wrist of 6.5 inches or smaller, I think this watch could easily work for you, either in a wetsuit or in a suit and tie. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you next time.